Okay, so I'm here today with James Brown, who is a reasonably renowned jazz guitarist from Adelaide, amongst other styles, obviously. So thanks for speaking to me.
Pleasure, man.
JB.
Pleasure.
So James has got a reasonably extensive rig going on here. He's been amassing pedals, and he doesn't seem to be able to stop because as we got here today, he said first thing, "Do you mind if I go to the post office so I can pick up a couple of new pedals?" So you know, there's an addiction going on here, I think.
Yeah, it's safe to say.
But you know, it's an addiction that produces some pretty amazing end results. So if you wouldn't mind just going from the start and taking me through what you're running at the moment.
All right. Well, let's start the boring end of the board.
Sure.
So I run the guitar into this bypass looper. These tuners are great, but I found that they create artifacts and stuff in the sound often.
Yeah.
At different venues and power supplies and stuff. So
okay,
anyway,
sure.
I've got that out of the chain. So that's my
cool
tuner.
Is that all that you run through the bypass looper?
And I've also got this Boss Super Octave on that switch as well.
Is there a particular reason why?
Again,
why you use that one in the?
Because I play a lot straight through the board clean as well as, you know, without effects. I need I want as good a clean tone as I can get.
Sure.
And I find that having the Boss involved all the time is a little bit of a tone sucker.
Yeah, sure.
So just with clarity and definition and mojo. So I keep that out of the normal loop unless it's on.
So with your sound kind of being someone who does focus a lot on your clean sound, I guess, you know, that clarity of signal is so important to you. So have you found you've experimented a lot with like power supply and things like that?
Yeah, just to keep everything as clean as possible, and buffers, which we'll probably get to.
Yeah, sure.
If I keep
cool, let's keep going.
Sweet. So that's that. Although I do use the Boss quite a lot in Yeah, because there's two guitars and drums, there's no bass. Yeah,
this is the new record you put out last week called by
Yeah, absolutely no way.
Such a good name.
I'm not sure what it is, but you remember it. And it's awkward to write down.
That's it.
And it doesn't fit on posters.
Excellent.
So it's good. It's good fun. It's generating chaos in the industry. So I use that a lot. I use the Boss a lot to thicken up just the lower, like basically like from about a D down, and then the rest of it is untouched. Wow. So it's it's nice. So it's nice and thick compared to, which is fine. But without a bass, it's kind of helpful to have. Yeah. Which brings us to this baby, which you have.
I do. Yeah.
Which is the same, but this one's set to the range, so it only drops the octave below a certain point. This one's the whole lot. So, and as you know, it's polyphonic, so you can play simple chords and it sounds fat.
Do you get crazy with the Polytune? Do you have any kind of out there settings? You mostly just use it for single octave and stuff like that.
No, I've got a few things. This one I use for a lot of like that kind of vibe, which is pretty good. Pretty fat, particularly paired up with the with that. But I also use it a lot like this, which is getting pretty gnarly. GI Fuzz,
amazing,
the MI one for that sound, which is pretty gnarly.
So you do have quite a few stages of gain in your pedal wise as well. Let's talk a bit more about those.
Well, this is the most recent acquisition, and I got this because I was messing. Well, I wanted something with a clean blend in it, so I run it pretty low gain, just as like a tube screamer type thing. But it seems to keep a lot more of the natural tone, like particularly in the low end. So I use that a lot for chords and like accompanying stuff in a heavier context.
Yeah,
so
nice
it's
one.
still
So
got a nice
clarity.
Totally. So it's, you can still hear the notes in the chords. So that's which is nice. And then I use this more for lead stuff. more as a straight kind of tube screamer type tone.
That's something that's very familiar to me. If I hear that, that sounds like you.
I've had that, actually that's one of the oldest pedals on this board,
yeah.
I think. And then the fuzz, which I use mostly in that setting. And it's neat because the bias control means it it's acting like a gate. So
yeah,
it's like
fantastic.
No noise.
I love those.
It's like crazy. Yeah, do some fun things. So I quite often drive that harder with this one so that it doesn't do that. So
sure.
I can play
What a great combination.
Awesome. The crunch box is more for like, you usually pair that with my
Les Paul. Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a little advertisement. It's like their pedals, they're well made and they sound good. So I've got that set quite dark. There's a couple of trim pots inside.
Okay.
So I've set that quite dark. But it's nice and really compressed for the gaming. A lot of the do that record with Glass Indian, and all the guitar tones are with that pedal pretty much.
Yeah, right.
Paired with that.
And you were playing a Les Paul over there. Collection over there.
So perfect for this. It's just that sound, you know. So that gets used quite a bit. I use that bit for lead stuff as well. And then the last one in the chain is, I mostly have it off. It's mostly just a buffer, an impedance buffer. And I put one at the end of both boards. Sometimes I use just one board if I just want gain stuff on a gig. And sometimes I'll use just this board, which is more set up for delays and reverbs and stuff, modulation and whatnot. But I've also got it set as a boost, so if it's just venues and spaces, you know, it's like sometimes you just have enough volume. So it's pretty clean. You can get quite gnarly with this. I have used it as a treble boost before, which gets pretty harsh. Some of the Uman stuff is recorded like that.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Or at least with that kind of thing in mind.
Yeah.
A lot of the all that stuff at the end of the section.
Big squares.
Yeah, it's all kind of like that. All of that's in the brigade, all those nasty.
Yeah, so James and I play in a band called 1.1 Immerman, and the band's had a few incarnations, but the one that I played on the record of was 3 guitars, bass and drums, so that was a real kind of interesting experiment in how to differentiate tone. And I think more than a lot of records I've heard, you can really hear who's who on that record. Like, you know, Dylan, myself and you all have very different sounds, and I think Jared did really well to blend them into something that works quite well.
Yeah, it's quite stereo. There's so much, it's so dense, and it's still it
has space.
Maintain the personality of everyone's playing. It's totally cool.
Cool, so let's move on to the
so that's gain.
The modulation stage.
Cool. So then this Empress Superdelay is a pretty neat pedal. I use it mostly, it's got a really nice tape delay sound. Cool. Which I've got hooked up to this expression pedal as well.
Right.
Pretty nice. And I also like this because, and this is the reason I got it to go, I think it was the first delay pedal that I got, I reckon.
Yeah, right.
Because you can save presets, and toggle through them. So,
and is that an up and down toggle as well?
It's just up and then select. Most of them are hooked up to this, so they sort of you don't really know what they are until they.
Yeah, cool.
Do that.
Amazing. Yeah, I've been looking at those before, but it's one of those ones that's a bit of a.
It's a bit of an outlay.
It's a bit of an outlay. So.
But I do use it a lot. I feel like I've justified the purchase. It's on a lot of things. It's on a lot of tracks. It's part of. I used to use it for writing a lot as well. But it's also a looper, which I use a bit. But I actually use a looper on this a bit more.
Yep.
And again, I like this because you can save presets. So it's a little bit of changing between tunes on stage and stuff. But
it's the same.
you know what it's like. So I use the looper on that more because you can manipulate it. more than you can on the Empress.
Do you want to give us an example of something you do with the looper on that?
Sure. I'll just put it on a preset and then.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I forget half the features that this pedal does. Like, I always forget about how you can edit the looping after it's done, and you can edit the layers on top of it.
And you can go back into the other presets and put those effects back on as well.
Yeah.
So it's quite clever.
Oh, that's great, you know.
So yeah, I use that quite a bit.
Cool.
For that, but then yeah, there's a lot of presets in there. The one I particularly like at the moment is this modulation.
Same.
It's like quite pitchy.
Yeah.
Then what?
Then, well, let's talk about the new one we just added half an hour ago.
Barely, yeah. So this one is one we picked up from the post office. So I got this mostly as a, I think to use, well, it's an all analog thing, which excites me. And because I know the Electro Harmonix stuff is generally really well made and robust, and generally the tones are pretty good, so I thought, can't go wrong. And I really love it. So, just that, even the pitchiness of the vibrato
setting.
That's the trem, sorry.
The tremolo setting, sorry.
But I really like subtle kind of pitch changes. It's kind of what I don't know, I'm getting excited about at the moment. So paired with, you know, nice big reverb. It's quite nice.
But you were saying before that potentially you could have replaced your pulsar with
it does have the trem set up.
Trem, but you said there's a particular sound you like in that pulsar. So what's kind of special about the pulsar for your sound?
It's just a little bit more like an old amp trem. Anyway, so I use that a lot for, you know, like just again like basic coming up. Just very, you know, so not too crazy, but I got this with the intention of doing a few more, more modulation type things. So particularly that sort of kind of sound.
It's great.
Expression pedals hooked up to that. And then the Cathedral, another Electronics thing, again, switchable presets and stuff. So I use the
infinite setting, which is just fantastic. It's something I've always loved about that.
Yes, it's very good.
Goes forever.
There's a lot of that on the MM album.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
So
that's that.
I was just going to ask you about like combinations. So like obviously you've got such a plethora of effects here. Obviously you've spent a lot of time experimenting with how they work together. So is there anything you've kind of discovered that you think is something that maybe is an untapped combo that you think would be really special to your sound?
About untapped, but I mean I was doing some Radiohead stuff for a project again, or just in a few days, and it's kind of like a jazz thing.
Doing Radiohead.
Doing Radiohead. So basically, like my role has been to kind of like cover a lot of the, like on those records, a lot of the sort of ambient stuff. So there's a lot of like non-guitar ambience and stuff. Sure. So I was messing about with that kind of thing. And here's a combination of stuff.
So you just hit a whole bunch of stuff there.
So what I've done, I use this Pog a lot as a, let me add that, I'll add the stuff so you get a bit of a sense of it. So I use it without the octaves, just with the filter on and it changes the tone as well. So I used that to, and then...
It sounds like one of the Casio tone keyboards I use. Sounds exactly like that. It's really, really nice.
Kind of synthy. Some delay with like octave pitch shift, some modulation delay, and then like a nice big hall reverb, and then you go and get... It's probably going to be nice with that as well, I imagine. So that kind of
combination sounds like an organ, like a church organ or something.
In a with really big church.
Yeah, in a really big church with a lot of other overtones and a very contemporary kind of edge to it as well. It's great. And you're a bass player as well. You play bass in a few bands. Do you use this rig for your bass, or do you just kind of pair it back?
Well, because it's kind of like all set up fairly well. Like, yeah, I sometimes do. I mean, again, sometimes I just use the gain stuff.
Yep.
They recently, you know, I've been playing more just sort of straight into the amp with bass more, but yeah, I have certainly used this stuff before. It's quite fun. There's just a few pedals, like particularly in the gain ones, because they're set up for guitar. They just sort of lack a bit of.
Don't really translate.
Some of them work really well. Like the Fuzz is great.
Yeah.
But obviously the Octave pedals work really well, and again with the Fuzz work really well. But the others are not really sort of EQ'd for that, so they sort of lose like quite a lot in the low end. So
sure.
It's on my to-do list to solve that problem.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that's great. I'm really interested in kind of all the combinations of stuff you can come up with, and it's always a pleasure trying to get our sounds to kind of complement each other when we're playing. I noticed like I think the last time we played a show together with the three of us, there was only one pedal that crossed over in all three of our boards.
Yeah, right.
It was the stereo memory man.
Yeah.
Everything else was different, and we all had 10 plus pedals on our boards. So it's interesting how three guitarists playing the same songs can use all different sets of effects and come up with really cool
but I think as well though, even if we were using the same pedal rig, it still wouldn't be the same. It's kind of like saying that we all play guitar, so we're all going to sound the same.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you've spent some time on your sounds as you have, you can do anything.
For sure, man. Well, thanks heaps for speaking to me today, and
no worries, dude.
I look forward to our show together next month.
Cool.
Sweet.
Okay.